Today we're looking at two not very fondly looked upon second Doctor entries. Let's jump right into the Underwater Menace. If I had to pinpoint what doesn't work about this story in a general sense, it's that the themes that it goes for, such as control, other stories like the Macroterror, Faceless Ones, Evil of the Daleks would have done it so much more effective, so much more subtle. When I first watched the surviving episodes in the telesnaps back in 2016, it reminded me of what I love about a story like The Romans, the sense of effortless world building that naturally comes with scenes like At the Market. This is the second and last appearance of the second Doctor's stovepipe hat, and I realized they probably based Matt Smith's Fez off of that. Zoroff is such a cheesy, over-the-top villain. It's not so bad it's good, it's just crazy. He wants to raise Atlantis to ground level and then flood and destroy the world. The stuff in the mines with Ben and Jamie and them looks pretty good, but basically when this story was written, they didn't know that Jamie was going to be a full-time companion, so they had to divide some of Ben and Polly's lines to give to Jamie. It's sad that Polly was kind of a damsel in distress in this episode. When the Doctor and friends are being taken away, the Doctor gives one of the guards a note to give to Zoroff, basically telling him to release Doctor Who. He refers to himself as Doctor Who like he does in the War Machines. This scene didn't make sense to me, so Zoroff just sees a note saying to release the Doctor that the Doctor wrote himself and just releases him. That's just bad writing right there. It's what's happening around the forgettable scenes that builds a sense of importance, alright? The Doctor, Ben, Jamie, Polly are trapped in an elevator, they land across fake gold, they eat plankton. I was like, why was there a random fake gold bracelet? But this is Zoroff giving the Atlanteans a false sense of promise of prosperity. It reminded me of how in Evil of the Daleks tell the humans that they know this transmutation alchemization process of turning metal into gold that they can teach them. But that is just a ploy to get the humans to teach the Daleks about the human factor. I watched the animation this time around and I do have to give it props for how colorfully it built this world. Like, it reimagined the fish people with a different, more alien design, even though they didn't get to do much. I loved how they did this in Abominable Snowman, with redesigning Padmasambhava to look more alien. I think it would be a bigger tragedy if a story like The Aztecs was missing. The Aztecs is a good, if not really great story, for sure. But yeah, it felt like Tintin and the Lake of Sharks. The animation, it had my full attention, but this is just not a good story. I can't call this a good story. Next up, we have the Wheel in Space. The side crew on this space station want to blow up this rocket that is unusually off course. This reminds me of what I like about the world building in episodes like The Ark or The Ice Warriors or even Seeds of Death. Nowhere near perfect, but I must give it props for its eerie atmosphere that made the telesnaps very easy to watch. The Cybermen's usage of the wheel, having to do with imagination, is a pretty satisfying and believable plot. And I thought the ending was paced and directed and filmed very well. It had this dreamlike quality that reminded me of what I love about the Moon Base, which is still one of my top 10 favorite classics. We have the introduction of the iconic tear duct design of the Cybermen. So I have to argue that all four Cybermen stories of the second Doctor era are iconic. They remind me of what we all love about monster movies. For some reason, I like the Doctor and Jamie banter moments better in this story than I do in a lot of other stories that I like better. The second Doctor shows his methodical side in both stories. You really buy into it, even if the science doesn't always make sense. The Atlanteans worshipping this god called Ando reminds me of the Tibetan culture in Abominable Snowman. The introduction of Zoe was done amazingly. She's the complete opposite of Victoria, and I really like how they were trying to go for this Alice in Wonderland type of theme of questioning logic. And I love that at the end we get this mental projection flashback of Evil of the Daleks to show Zoe what she's in for. I just rewatched Army of Ghosts and Doomsday a couple days back. The tension and the ideas with the Cybermen in that are absolutely on point. Like when Freema Angerman's character gets turned into the Cybermen, those creepy close-ups, and then she's getting other people to get turned into Cybermen. We would not have amazing televisual suspense like that by 2006 if it were not for the risks that the 60s Cybermen took. The Doctor introduces this thing called the Time Vector Generator, which takes away the dimensionally transcendental qualities of the TARDIS, making it a regular police box. I hope we see the Time Vector Generator at some point in the future, just like they brought back the Cybermats. And at the beginning of Underwater Menace, we get very rare internal monologue narrations from each of the companions guessing where they landed. Out of all the things about the Second Doctor era that make it better than other eras, 5 other doctors at least have said that Patrick Troughton is their favorite Doctor and had inspired their incarnation, especially prevalent in the Matt Smith era. Like, there are moments of dialogue with the Second Doctor and Ben, Polly, Jamie, Zoe, Victoria in the TARDIS that if you took that dialogue line for line and copied and pasted it for scripts in the 11th Doctor era, for Matt Smith, Karen Gillan, Arthur Darwell, it would fit right in. So, which one do I like better? Both stories, you can definitely argue, are unnecessarily convoluted. Both stories have a good sense of danger. Some people appreciate the underlying humor in Underwater Menace, but to me that's nothing compared to things like the telepathy and the eeriness that Wheel in Space depicts. Wheel in Space wins this TV fight. Alright guys, see you next time.